say, and you...
All right, I hate to cut you off, but we gotta get this going before the sun sets.
Yeah. Yeah, yes.
Hey, just a heads up, I gotta get out of here before sunset.
We finished just in time, a few minutes before the sun sets, and you're gonna turn into a werewolf, right?
I'd love to, Jimmy.
I think that joke would have landed better if this wasn't a supposed live stream being streamed at 9 a.m. Hello and welcome to FDS. My name is Nate and I am your host. Today we are talking about Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Yesterday there was a live stream on the official Magic the Gathering Twitch channel featuring Joe Manganiello. It was again chocked full of news and forced humor.
Yeah, we better, because you're definitely not messing with me, right?
So you thought I was messing with you?
Yeah, because that's the kind of thing you like to do, mess with people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, professional messer over here.
But if you want the highlights and a skosh less forced humor, then you can stick around.
Yeah.
Now, as these streams tend to generally go, it is a majority of lore, a little bit of the mechanics, though they did reveal a lot of the mechanics this time, and a couple of cards from the set. On the flavor side of things, Innistrad is having some issues. As is often the case, their day-night cycle is getting all messed up, and it has something to do with the moon, which I would like to remind you is where Emrakul is currently imprisoned. That being said, they did say there will be no Eldrazi in this set, so it might be part of the story, but I don't think that's going to actually have a card. In response, the humans are going to try and hold a Harvesttide festival, which is kind of an autumnal type harvest festival, general pumpkins and lots of yellows and oranges. And apparently there's witches and warlocks involved that's going to fix this day-night cycle thing. I'm sure we'll find out the details later. But because there's a lot more night and not a lot of day, the werewolves are taking over. They're basically taking advantage of the extended hunting time. The factions are humans, vampires, zombies, geists, werewolves, and witches and warlocks. They told us a lot about the mechanics in this set. First, we have Decayed. A creature that has Decayed can't block, and when it attacks, you sacrifice it at the end of combat. I'll admit, I'm going to be interested to see how that one plays. The next one is Disturbed. I kind of like this one a lot. You get to cast the transformed version of the card from your graveyard for the disturbed cost. That's going to be fun and probably abusable. Another new mechanic is Coven, which kind of goes along the lines of Innistrad and having those mechanics that you just have to keep track of. Coven seems to be a mechanic that has to do with having 3 creatures on the battlefield with different powers, but you get different things depending on what the card says. You'll see examples of that later on in the video. Next, we have Daybound, Nightbound. So this seems to be a naming of an existing mechanic. For example, in the original Innistrad, there was a card called Daybreak Ranger, and on it, it says, at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast this turn, transform Daybreak Ranger, and on the back, you get Nightfall Predator, which says, at the beginning of each upkeep, if 2 or more spells were cast this turn, transform Nightfall Predator. So this is essentially just naming that mechanic, and it's going on Arlen. Then we have the returning mechanics of Investigate, where you create a clue token, and a clue token is pay 2, tap the card, and draw a card. Then you have Flashback, where instants and sorceries that have Flashback, you can cast them from your graveyard for the Flashback cost, and if you paid the Flashback cost, then exile it when the spell resolves. And then finally Transform, because obviously they didn't explicitly say Transform is coming back other than showing us cards that transformed. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Throughout the stream, they showed us various cards, and we'll start with the cycle of dual lands that are going to be in this set, the rare dual lands. So these say, come into the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, which is different than the battle lands, which say 2 or more basic lands. It seems the trade-off here is that the battle lands actually have land types. So for example, Canopy Vista has plains and forest on it, where these cards do not have that. After that, they showed us the basic lands showcase look, which is Eternal Night. It's a very interesting, I like it, very reminiscent of old monster movies, which I think This is essentially a bit of a teaser without saying it's a teaser. I have a feeling this is what the basic lands are going to be coming out of that double feature, the Innistrad double feature that they talked about on last week's stream. They're black and white. They said double feature is going to be in black and white. It has a monster movie type theme. So I have a feeling we're just essentially seeing the versions of the cards that will be in the double feature booster packs. Next we have Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. It's 1 and a black to get a legendary creature human wizard that's a 1/1. At the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. I love the almost plague doctor helmet he's wearing. That's pretty cool. Here we have our first planeswalker that they've shown, Arlen the Pack's Hope. 2 red and green to get a legendary planeswalker. Legendary planeswalker Arlen comes in with 4 loyalty. It is daybound. If player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. +1 to until your next turn, you may cast creature spells as though they had flash, and each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. That's nice. And -3, create 2/2 green wolf creature tokens. And that's the day side. The night side has Nightbound. If a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, it becomes a day next turn. +2, add a red and a green, or 0 until end of turn, Arlen the Moon's 0 until end of turn, Arlen the Moon's Fury becomes a 5/5 werewolf creature with trample, indestructible, and haste. Hints of Gideon, I see. Man, Gideon bites it and they start giving the abilities to other planeswalkers. My lord. Here is our werewolf commander, Tovalar, Dire Overlord. And he represents the new Dire Werewolves type that is in Innistrad. Apparently it's like OP werewolves. 1 red and a green to get you a legendary creature human werewolf that's a 3/3. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. Then transfer any number of human werewolves you control. Wow, that's incredibly powerful. And he has Daybound. The flip side says Tolavar, legendary creature werewolf. It's a 4/4. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. If you pay X, red, green, target wolf or werewolf you control gets +X +0 and gains trample until end of turn. Nightbound. He's a little spicy. Lenore, Autumn Sovereign, 2 green, white, to get a legendary creature human noble, that's a 0/4. Coven, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. Now they didn't show Teferi's card yet. Apparently they're not ready to reveal that card just yet, but they did show the art and I really like the art. I really like the one with the different phases of the moon. I also took a pretty close look and it doesn't look like the moon. It looks like the artist actually did a moon that wasn't our moon and did like a different moon. And it also looks like the moon has slightly different phases than what our moon, the human Earth moon, is. So I like it when they actually go the extra mile and not just, lazily go, oh, it's just a freaking moon, and just put the moon on there. They actually went the extra mile and put in a different moon. They even have different patterns on the moon depending on the phase, which implies that this moon may actually rotate. I'd be interested to see if they had a style guide on the Innistrad moon. And then to step away from cards for just a second, they did mention that the web fiction will be back again for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. I think web fiction is here to stay, at least for a little while, until a suit at Hasbro finds a reason to potentially come in and try to sell books again, but let's enjoy it while it lasts. The final card they revealed was the subscribe card, where it's 0 for I'm not going to even try to continue this joke any further. You get it. They didn't really reveal this card. This is a card that I jumped on cardsmith.com and just mocked it up real quick. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. And also, after you do all that, go ahead and click on this video right there. Told you there'd be forced humor. This show is part of the CIP network, inspiring creativity, one episode at a time.